Ooh, I'm getting tired. It's late on a Friday.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I just want everybody to know, late on a Friday, 8:25 p.m. Go ahead.
Hi there, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 1 of Jav and Charles Talk Comics. Today we're talking about JLA and Avengers by the great Kurt Busiek. That's from sometime in the early 2000s, and it is a mashup of Marvel and DC. Or DC and Marvel, depending on which way you go. And then we'll also be talking about my suggestion, because, the two big group book mashup was Hav's suggestion. And we'll be talking about mine, which is a more minor mashup of Spider-Man and Deadpool. Hi, Hav. How you doing?
I'm good, Charles. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, so surprise, surprise. I was thinking about that as I was finishing up Avengers.JLA today, because I just put it off. It was 4 issues, and then I started reading it the other day. I was like, oh, these are really long issues.
They are. Yes, they are. It was
so
200 pages
like,
and 4 issues.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, God, Charles must be... I know he's going to give his opinion, but I wonder if he's just like, that son of a bitch, he freaking... Not only is it a team book, it's the 2 big teams from both universes smashed together. And I didn't even venture to try to count how many different characters we're seeing in those pages over those 4 issues.
Some of that was really, really cool.
Yeah.
Some of that was really, really cool because there were just tons and tons of characters. So before we get started into talking about all that, I want to welcome everybody back to Season 3 that we promised. And I know we're getting kind of a late start on Season 3 because as we record this, it's already March. So this is March 10th when we're recording this. Before you hear this, you'll be hearing our first bonus episode of Season 3, which will have been the Caesar, Hav, and I talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, which we recorded last week, and I was editing before that. But welcome back. We appreciate all of our listeners. Hav, I wanted to start out by getting you excited with my mouth by saying we have mail.
God damn it. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
It came in through the Contact Us forum like it does, and it is from your wife.
Oh my God. Okay, go ahead. I have no idea what this is. Go ahead.
I'm sure you don't. It says, "Hi, Charles. It's Julie again. For your podcast, ask Hav about a burp at Gloria's. Have fun. Julie. I can't even say her name now. I'm laughing because you're laughing. So, Hav."
Oh, my God. Yeah. So, I guess that is me being wrong because, look, COVID, all that stuff, we don't go out as much as we used to. And we just happened the other day to be out and about. I don't even know if we were planning to eat out. We had just been running, doing some stuff together. And it was like late morning or lunchtime. And we're over there on Greenville by the Glorias there, on Upper Greenville. So we stop in there. Long story short, it's pretty dead. There's other people there. And there's, wait staff and the bar. We sit at the bar like we usually do because we can watch whatever's on the TV, whether it's I think it was like, I forget. Anyways.
Yeah,
it's not the important part.
Yeah.
It's not the important part. And not even drinking, like booze. Just having a Diet Coke, water, eating some lunch. And all of a sudden, a burp's coming on, and I just burp. Like, it don't really cover my mouth. And then for a second, there's like a split second, I'm like, we're in public. And then I look over at Julie, and Julie's looking at me like, what the fuck? And I was like, I'm so sorry. I forgot where we were. And then we both kind of laughed. I was like, and I've apologized about it since. Like, I was like, wow, that was really, like, days later, I was like, wow, what the hell's wrong with me? And it was just complete brain fart, weird. Like, I'm sure everybody heard it. Thankfully, nobody was like, what the hell? Like, nobody else was like pointing at me, like, what's wrong with that guy? It was just kind of, yeah. So, yeah, I did that because I forgot how to act in public.
I'm sure it came up on Nextdoor.
Probably.
Yeah. So I was sitting at Gloria's in a family establishment, and this jackass is sitting at the bar.
I mean, like a loud, like Barney burp, Barney from The Simpsons.
Uh-huh.
Like almost like that, like a really good one.
Nice.
Like not like a little, like, no.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Not like the one that kind of sneaks out sometimes when you're like, oh, excuse me, I beg your pardon. I did not mean to do that. No, it was just I'm going to open my throat and do the alphabet kind of thing.
Like, I could have stifled. I didn't even try to. And again, I forgot my surroundings, that I was in public. Because at home, if it's just me and her hanging I need a burp, I'll just burp, and I guess that shows, my lack of couth, and so now I'm very, now I'm gonna be very self-conscious about that.
It's how you establish dominance over your wife.
Yeah, no, there's no such thing
I,
as that, but okay.
yes,
I know what you mean.
yes, that was a joke.
Thing I can do.
I was not implying in any way that the relationship was like that. I apologize.
No, I know.
All right.
I think everybody would get a laugh out of that. Like, oh yeah, Jav's in charge. Okay.
Yes, everybody would get a laugh out of that. So as is our normal practice, we're going to discuss the older and more dated comic that Jav suggested first. It's not a dated comic. I'm sorry, that was mean. But the JLA Avengers comic that we read. First off, to answer your question, Jav, yeah, I liked it. I know you haven't asked it yet, but that's what you always want to make sure. Yes, I liked it.
Okay.
Now let's get on to talking about what's wrong with it. No.
Okay, let's just go straight to that. What did you hate?
I didn't hate anything. Let's just say, okay, there's a whole list of things that Charles thinks is wrong with group books and event books, and this was an event, and it made me realize some stuff as I read it this morning, because like you, Jav, I read it today, and because I was promising myself, no, I don't want to have to call Jav and say, hey, so I'm sorry. Everybody knows we're not going to call each other. I don't want to have to text Jav and say, well, so about the recording and all. Can't do it because I didn't finish.
I didn't read.
Yeah, I didn't read. Didn't do my homework. So reading it, it made me realize that most of these big events are the exact same. And right. I mean, they are the exact same. This one was, you can put them in whatever order you want. I mean, it was Crisis on Infinite Earths. That was what it was. It was Secret Wars 2, which came out after this. So I'm not saying Busiek took Secret Wars 2 to do this, because they did that. I mean, it was really what they took Secret Wars 2 from, because that's literally smashing two universes together, and only one shall survive kind of thing, which is what they did. It's the Infinity War. It's what we're about to have go on in the Marvel Universe, which is, of course, lots of universes, and some won't survive, and they're going to cut out timelines. And I'm irritated at myself that I don't really like it, because let's be honest, there are only X number of stories you can do, so it's not so much about the story as it is how you tell the story and what the characters individually do. And the problem I have with comic books on this stuff doing the same thing is the characters are the same, so what they do, you know what they're going to do, you know how they're going to react. It's not the same as reading the same type of mystery with completely different characters from two completely different authors, where they're going to react completely differently in it. It's the same characters doing the same thing they're going to do in this situation almost all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it makes sense. I was even thinking, Kurt Busiek, even though it wasn't... Well, yeah, I mean, for example, Crisis on Infinite Earths, that was only DC. Secret Wars 2 is only Marvel. When we read Avengers Forever,
it was this. This was Avengers Forever.
The tropes, or the beats, or the first, second, third act, or however you want to break it down. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna get some repetitive stuff. But it's how do they execute it? Do they put a new twist on it? Are they good at it? Not anybody could write this. Not anybody could draw it.
That's true. I'll throw another one in there. One that I really like, Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
That's the sacred timeline. It's this timeline. It's the 616. They weren't destroying timelines in the Spider-Verse, although there were some threads cut so they couldn't connect it. Never mind.
We could rattle off. No, like No More Mutants. There's, not to mention all the big events that both publishers do, where everything's on the line, and it seemingly turned into every year there's a big event. Some of them company-wide, some of them just in Batman, some of them just in Superman, some of them just in the X-Men books or the X book. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I was going to mention, before I forget, when you say this is not as old, it is kind of funny, though, because now it's going on 20 years old.
I know.
Which again is, well, it's just... Time is weird, speaking of time and universes, but it just doesn't seem like it came out that long ago to me, because I do remember picking it up at the comic book shop, and then when I realized, I knew it was a while back, and I knew it wasn't in the 2010s, but 2003 to 4 doesn't seem that long ago, but it's 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So
yes,
it is what it is. So So yeah, I think we've already said, but and I overuse great maybe, but I don't think I
Nope.
am in this case. The
Nope. Nope.
great Kurt Busiek and the great George Perez
Yep.
are
Yep. Yep.
your writer and artist, and the reason, one of the reasons I suggested this is because last year, unfortunately, we've talked about this before on the podcast, and I'm sure anybody that follows comic books knows this. George Perez passed away. He was diagnosed with, I want to say it was pancreatic cancer, which is one of the worst cancers I've heard you can get. It's hard to get even into remission. And if you're past a certain stage, you just have to try to live as best you can down the stretch. And my understanding of I didn't read a bunch of the stuff before and after the actual 4 issues in the collection I gave you, Charles. I bought these because it was released last year by Marvel and DC in collaboration to raise money for, it was my understanding for a fund for comic book artists and writers that maybe, it was something like that. And I may be completely wrong, but I remember reading that and I remember thinking, oh, I'm going to pick up a couple of those for sure, because it seemed like it was a good cause. Because a lot of these guys and girls, men and women that are in the comic book industry, they're work for hire, they're freelance. There's not too many salaried employees unless you're, management or editorial. So it happens way too often where when they have a health issue, you see them, hey, I think this happened to Peter David. He had put up a GoFundMe because he had some health issues. So anyways, that was one of the impetuses for me suggesting it. So there you go.
But at least by doing that, companies like Marvel don't have to pay the writers or the artists jack shit when they make $1 billion movie about it.
That is one of the byproducts of the way the system is so stacked in the publisher's favor.
Yes. Sorry that there are some major problems with the way creatives are treated in our world, obviously.
No, absolutely.
I really liked it. I liked the interplay. I really liked a lot of the interplay between the Marvel characters and the DC characters. I did not like much the way Superman was portrayed in this, but I'm going to let that go because they also had Captain America being portrayed the same way, and the unexplained implication of was something that was going on that was forcing them to act slightly out of character and make them both want to fight.
Right.
So I'll allow that. No, I know how magnanimous of me, but I still don't like it when Superman is, I'm going to stop these people. And I also, though, kind of liked Captain America's take looking around of the fawning of these superheroes and what the superheroes do in the DC universe and him calling them fascist overlords.
No, I mean, I hadn't read this since it came out in the early 2000s. And stuff I didn't remember like that you were just talking about, Cap. Mm-hmm. They have museums to them and they look like they're being worshipped and all that. And then the flip side is Superman. Like what's wrong with these people? The people hate them and they're obviously not doing a very good job if this is the way their populace sees them.
There's terrible, horrible things going on. I liked when the Flash was the first one to get there and he ran into a mutant though. And he was, this is not a knock on the Flash. I kind of like the Flash. And he saves the mutant, i.e. he gets in between the people going, hey, if they actually did something, you should call the police. I don't know what the mob is going on. And they're all like, no, we're going to get him. And then he realizes he doesn't have the Speed Force there and gets the tar beat out of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Because that sadly cracked me up. And the Flash in this case at that point was Wally West.
Correct.
Not Barry Allen. Later, they do some weird crap that was hard to follow. I realize I have more trouble reading on paper medium light-wise than I do on our iPads. So I was just like, okay, I had to sit in a chair with the right light. And I'm like, I'm not a fan of this age thing. Although I'm less of a fan of the alternative.
No, same thing. I realize this because that's been. I mean, on the podcast here, I don't remember the last time I actually read a floppy or a hard copy of anything. And the other night in bed, I was going to try to read it, even with my lamp on. It wasn't positioned right, and it just wasn't. I was like, oh, hey, what did I used to do? I guess I had to have a thing. I used to have like a light like right over on my bed that came right down.
Oh, I used to just be able to see better.
Well, there's that too, there is that too. I think I mentioned to you and Caesar, we were on the podcast, I don't remember about, I'll share, the cataracts I was told I had on my last eye exam.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things about cataracts, it affects your night vision or being able to see at night. And I was like, oh, that kind of explains a little. And now the cataracts I have are not bad, and they're the early stages or whatever. But they're just like, son of a gun. Yeah, it's a little harder to see at night, or in the dark, or when it's not very well lit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I did the same thing with the hard copy. What else was I going to mention? You were talking about just the geography and when they show up where Metropolis is and there's no Metropolis
Oh yeah.
and stuff like that was kind of fun. And the interplay, you had shared either on a text or on Twitter or both that panel with Green Arrow and Hawkeye and Black Canary.
Oh yeah,
And
that I had just it was on a thing on Facebook called Out of Context Comic Panels.
yeah, and I
And
immediately knew it was from this. And
I
that's
had no
one of the
idea.
things that,
Yeah.
and that's what I was like, oh, you know what? I need to suggest. I was like, that's right. And I bought that extra trade.
Oh,
Paperback,
so you're blaming me for this.
It's your fault. Yeah, absolutely. You want to have to do it, but you made me do it.
I know. I make things. I make people do things.
So, well, go ahead. Any other big notes or takeaways or?
Like I said, a lot of fun with this was the interplay between the characters. And I also like Plastic Man, and he was in it a little bit. Yeah. And I liked there were two places where Guy Gardner's haircut was in it.
Yeah.
So that amused me. After the whole thing is, it's hard to synopsize this. The Grandmaster is a game player. He's a celestial that likes games, and he proposes a game that these two groups have to get these massive items, the level of which are the Infinity Stones is one of the items, these powerful, powerful items. And it's two universes competing against each other, the Avengers versus the Justice League. There's more going on with that, though. There's a dude named Kronos who I think is new for this. Am I correct that he's not been around?
No, actually, and I did look this up.
Okay.
Krona. His name is Krona.
Okay.
He's actually an Owen, like one of the Guardians from Green Lantern.
Oh, okay.
Exile, because he wanted, yeah.
Oh,
believe it or not.
Okay.
But so they don't hardly reference that. No, I looked it up.
That's good.
And yeah, his whole thing is he wants to know what was before the Big Bang. And he's been destroying universes trying to do that for some reason. Somehow that's going to get him the answer. And lo and behold, he stumbles upon the Grandmaster's universe. And the Grandmaster's like whatever level, celestial level, big time level guy, apparently. Kind of holds him off and makes a deal with him to say, whoa, don't kill my universe there, Krona. Let's play a game.
Yeah, they're wagering which universe for him to destroy, basically. And
Pretty much,
he's going to take one team and the other, and then Krona says, no, I'm going to take the Avengers. So if the Avengers win, because I'll switch what you're doing. When he loses, it backfires, and he's like, no, I don't care. And then a big brouhaha happens, but the Grandmaster has all of the items. There's 12 powerful items, like the Spear of Destiny, the Infinity Stones, the
Wand Green Lantern Battery.
Yeah, the Green Lantern Battery, and the Wand of Watum. These are just off the top of my head, the ones I can remember. So he's got all of them. He tries to use those to stop everything, and then the universe starts glitching, because you have them acting as if the JLA and the Avengers have known each other for years, and they've done these crossovers all the time. Basically, they're acting as if they're the JSA and the JLA.
There's a cool panel where it's the Avengers at their table. It's from an early Justice League of America issue, but it's the Avengers around a table, and then conjuring out of the thing in the middle, the orb in the middle of the table is the Justice League. And then what they used to do in the Justice League of America pre-crisis, every year they would have a big crossover with the Justice Society of America, and sometimes throw in like Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters or other people like that from another universe. So that was a yearly thing that DC internally used to do with JSA and JLA. And in this, what they do is it's kind of like a what if. Instead of it being the JLA and JSA, it was the Avengers and the JLA, and they'd have a yearly crossover thing, and they'd fight somebody.
And so they're blipping between these different ones, and Superman and Captain America are losing their damn minds during them, because something is wrong, and it's really funny because of the different people that are in each of them, because that's where or with the Green Lantern that started out was not Hal Jordan. It was because at this point Hal Jordan was dead and was Perfect Stranger.
Spectre.
I know. I was mashing up just all sorts of
I know.
things.
You made yourself laugh there.
I did. Perfect Stranger. Well, because they also had Phantom Stranger in it at one point, and
they did,
and then the Spectre. So at that point, he was the Spectre, but they brought him back as Green Lantern once it glitched. And whereas, if you're fancy, you can use that too. Whereas it was Wally West in the beginning because Barry's dead. Barry came back, and then it was Barry.
Yeah.
And
Barry and Hal are back together.
Mm-hmm. Barry and Hal are back together. Aquaman had lost his hand, evidently, and he had his hand, and it's just it was kind of cool to see all of that come about. And that's where they also had that clip I sent to you back at the other time with Black Canary hooking up with Hawkeye because he's decided to stay with them. And she's like, and the whole time Green Arrow is just like, what the hell?
Yeah. It was good. And real fast, going back to where you said, the whole wager between Grandmaster and Krona, where, originally it was going to be Grandmaster was going to take the Avengers from his universe, and Krona was going to have the Justice League, and he pulled the old switcheroo like from Princess Bride, which is what I thought of. It was like, yes, we'll both drink, but I'm going to take your drink.
Yes.
The poison thing. So I just immediately, it made me think of that. Well, I for some reason wanted to point that out.
And the nice thing about that too is, as they're doing that, they found out, because the Atom ends up on Metron. And he's one of Darkseid's guy, right? No, is he a Justice League member?
Adam? The Atom?
No, not the Atom. Metron.
Oh, Metron is he's a new god. He's on the good side against
See, that's what
Darkseid.
Yeah. I was like,
sorry.
You were like, I'm like, Metron's not a JSA.
I thought you said Adam.
I did. I said Adam was on Metron.
Yeah, he was in his chair. Then he ends up in the Grandmaster's lair somehow.
He ends up in the Grandmaster's lair, and he hears all of the stuff. So then he's able to tell Batman and Captain America, and that makes Captain America realize that the Avengers cannot win.
Right.
And because they keep having the fight, and then he stops the Avengers from winning, so the universe isn't destroyed, which is a good idea.
And then Krona, of course, doesn't honor his wager with Grandmaster and kills him, or nearly kills him, and then Grandmaster kind of sacrifices himself so the League and the Avengers have a chance for the big brouhaha battle at the end, which again reminded me of one of the other big books we read, which was Avengers Forever, where you had just people just popping in and out.
Oh yeah,
from different eras.
They totally did that.
I don't know. It was cool when a couple other highlights for me. Captain America and Batman both figure out something else is behind all this, and then they end up in Batman's Batcave, and there's a cool moment where he sees the Robin tribute of his uniform, and he says, "Oh, you lost somebody too." I thought that was a little nice touch because, of course, at that point, Bucky hadn't come back yet as Winter Soldier, so Cap had lost somebody too. Yeah, that was one part I wanted to.
There was the great thing, and I have a picture of it this is where Superman has Cap's shield and Thor's hammer.
Oh yeah.
When things are glitching and things are popping in and out, at one point I'm looking at a screenshot I took. Well, literal picture, so I guess it's not a screenshot.
Yeah.
A literal picture I took with my iPhone on the page of Captain America's shield, but like the original Captain America shield. That was the shield shape instead of the round shape. So he's got that at one point while he's being attacked with kryptonite. There was a great...
Cap at one point has the see-through shield, like the energy shield.
Oh, does he?
I
missed that.
That you can kind of see through his arm. And then at one point he's U.S. agent, or when he was exiled and not Captain America, he's in black.
So he's a Nomad?
Yeah, maybe that's what the name I forget what name.
Yeah, he was Nomad. So there's also there's a place where they were about to fight again, and then Wonder Woman is like, no, we are not going to do this again, because it was just going to get, we're not going to have this fight.
And I know real fast, I'm being nitpicky. Yes, he was Nomad once when he wasn't Cap back in like the 70s, but then in the 80s, there was a period where he dressed in black, still looked like the same Captain America outfit, but he just went by Captain.
Oh, okay.
I swear to God.
I,
That's
I
the
believe you. I thought you were referring to Nomad. That's okay.
Yeah.
You,
No,
you
just,
can
just,
you can be nitpicky. I was not judging you for not coming up with Nomad because clearly now you've proven the point that you weren't even thinking of Nomad.
yeah, I was not. Well, and how dare you attack me? I'm just going to leave it at
as
that.
as usual, I apologize for your
And
stupidity.
I just looked this up right now. I'm going to let that slide just there that you just said. The 12 items of power. It's just interesting. From DC's universe, the DC universe, the Spear of Destiny, Orb of Ra, the Medusa Mask. I have no idea what the Medusa Mask is.
It's the mask
Green
he wears,
Lantern.
so it's probably the mask Medusa wears so people don't freeze when they see her face. Turn to stone.
Okay, sure.
I
The
mean, it's just a
Bell,
thought.
Jar, and Wheel of Demons 3, whatever that is. The Green Lantern Power Battery. And then the 6 items from Marvel: Ultimate Nullifier, Evil Eye of Avalon, Wand of Watum, Casket of Ancient Winters, Cosmic Cube, and the Infinity Gauntlet. So those are your big heavy hitting items that they're trying to the first, and it's, the whole thing where they're splitting up and going to try to get the things. Speaking of tropes from these types of comics,
Oh
but
yeah.
it's just, again, you get to see, well, we read it, we read the Wonder Woman George Perez thing with the Hercules from the DC universe and what he did to
Oh God, I loved that. I loved that.
and then when she sees
I
Hercules
am
from the
mighty
Marvel universe.
Hercules, the destroyer of hip. But the oh man,
Yeah.
she goes after Hercules immediately. I loved that. That was
And
great.
Hercules, I think, is about to say, yeah, I knew her. She was really, like, I don't think it didn't go down in his universe the way it went down in her universe.
Yeah, it
Because
probably
I think,
did. But remember, men didn't think they raped the crap out of a woman.
oh, that's a good point. Yeah, okay.
So, and it
Yeah,
was literally 1,000 and something years ago.
more, like
Oh, yeah, okay,
thousands,
shit, no, thousands of years. That's
like
right.
probably
We're in
4,000
2000.
years
Yeah, because
ago.
it was BC. So yes, it was ancient Greece. So yeah,
Yeah.
thousands and
The,
thousands of years ago.
that was a cool scene to see when she was like, hey, you said, I know you and I don't like you for a really good reason.
Yeah. So no, I liked that when they were looking at Squadron, when they were first seeing the Justice League of America, they kept saying there's something familiar about them. There's something familiar about them. And finally, when they get to the DC Earth,
That's right.
Hawkeye, and I took a picture of it too. Hawkeye goes, "Oh, right now I got it. These losers, there's nothing but a bunch of Squadron Supreme wannabes."
Exactly. That's right.
Hold
That
on.
was awesome.
And then 5 gets you 10. They're mind controlled. It's like, all right, there you go. There's just a bunch of.
No, that was a good one. Now there's all sorts of, look, if unfortunately too, not available on Hoopla, not available on Marvel Online or DC Online.
Yeah, but the
Uh,
rights to this have got to be insane.
right. Yes, agree. I mean, I don't even want to guess what
This is locked down. To print it, to do anything with it, has to have both mega corporations agree to do something.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. So, I mean, we could go. There's other cool parts. I was going to mention. I always like the crossover. Period. I always, anytime I can see X-Men versus Avengers or Justice League crossing over with, whatever Titans, Teen Titans or whatever, that's cool. So when I heard about this coming out, that was great. But also before this, there had been other crossovers every once in a while.
I have
You had.
I have a Spider-Man Superman crossover somewhere in my
Sure.
trunk of comics, and it's like a
couple of
digest
those.
thing. Yeah.
There was a Hulk Batman crossover. There was a Batman Captain America crossover. There's been a Dark Side Galactus crossover. There's every once in a while, especially back in the 90s and up until this point. But after this,
No,
I
there
think it
hasn't
was
been
around
one.
this time. Also, they had the Amalgam universe. Did you ever read any of that?
No.
So just a mashup of Marvel and DC characters. Like instead of X-Force, it was X-Patrol. And so it was X-Force and Doom Patrol mashed up. Or Dark Claw was like Batman and Wolverine mashed up. It was cool. And it was, of course, sponsored by and supported by both publishers. It was just it was neat. And I totally, about the same time period, I swear, I totally love that crap. It was awesome.
Okay.
Um,
I
so No, late 90s. Okay, late 90s. So it was a precursor to this stuff.
Okay. There were some fun things in this. There was a picture of the Daily Planet, but it was the headline, and Superman's looking at it. It says Spider-Man Speaks, an interview by Clark Kent.
Yeah, that's when they were getting mashed together.
That
and
was one of the
everything's
mashing
going
together.
haywire.
Yeah, I liked that. It was an enjoyable comic book. There was way too much going on in it. And I'd like to joke that I don't like the mashups. I mean, I did just suggest a mashup, which is Spider-Man and Deadpool.
Yeah,
but
two
I mean,
characters
that's more of a bromance.
Yeah, well, it's literally called that, I think.
Yes, it is.
First trade paperback.
Yes.
The only other thing, really off the top of my head, I didn't really do my good notes because I was just reading. I didn't want to have not read. Was the titles of each comic, because there's 4 issues, 4 big issues. First issue was a journey into mystery.
They're really not that big. It's 25. It's a 200 and some pages.
Okay, well, there's just a lot going on.
Yeah, there's just every look. If this were an older comic, I would be really, because I did mentally go, oh man, this is some dense text on these pages. But unlike where the older stuff, sometimes it's just writing to write. He had to get a lot of fucking information in there.
Well, there's a lot of information, and then a lot of stuff where they're just going to put some stuff out there, and especially reading it 20 years later, there's characters in there. Triathlon is in there. He was part of the new Avengers reboot that Busiek and Perez did in the early 2000s after Heroes Reborn. He's featured prominently.
I don't know who that is.
He was just a character back then.
Okay.
There was Jack of Hearts was a big player there for a few panels or pages. On the DC side, not so much, I don't think. I mean, Plastic Man was cool. I always liked Plastic Man, so I was glad he was prominently in there.
While I still remember, because I was going to talk about this earlier, and then you had some good points, and I forgot about it. There is a section where the Justice League characters are in the Marvel universe, and they can't be seen. They're just scouting. So they're seeing things going on, and they're telling everybody, no, don't engage. Batman and whoever he's with, who is he with?
I forget. I know what you're talking about. Go ahead.
It doesn't matter who he's with. Okay, so they're in New York City, and New York City is very much Gotham. Marvel New York is very much like DC Gotham. They see some drug dealers, and Batman's like, oh, drug dealers, and he's conflicted because drug dealers. He has to deal with drug dealers. And then all of a sudden from a building leaps the Punisher. And then you cut to whoever he was with saying something about, well, I thought we weren't going to engage, but then you see this, then you then you protect
the drug
dealers by beating the crap out of a guy in Kevlar. It's like, yeah, but Batman's not going to let you murder those people, which is what the Punisher's is going to do. Yeah, he's going to murder them because the Punisher is Batman to an extreme.
Exactly. No, you're right. Well, speaking of to extreme, there was one part at the end where it's a lesser known DC character because, of course, the Hyperion and all those, the Squadron Supreme or the JLA knockoffs. At some point in the 90s, I swear, DC did something similar. And I don't know if you remember this part where the Citadel shows up, this guy named the Citadel. And he's kind of I think he's a Captain America DC, whatever.
Ripoff.
And I thought that was interesting. I swear, and I meant, again, I didn't have time to but I remember that. But yeah, no, that part with, going back again to what you said, no, that part with with Batman not letting Punisher kill drug dealers.
That was one.
And then just talking about it briefly, like they didn't dedicate a panel to it.
They didn't need a panel to it, but that was really one of my favorite parts of that comic, was that whole, you see a really nice drawn shot of the Punisher jumping. It's just going into I'm going to murder me some people. And then, Batman ain't going to let that happen. It doesn't matter what world he's in. You're not going to just murder people in front of Batman.
Hell to the no.
In fairness, I don't know that any of the heroes wouldn't have stopped him. Any of the DC heroes wouldn't have stopped him from murdering a bunch of people.
Well, and the Marvel heroes too.
I know.
The
Marvel heroes stop him all the time from murdering people. But I'm just saying, it's one thing to let some drug dealers sell some drugs, but it's another thing to let somebody murder a bunch of people in front of you without stopping them.
Right. No, that's true.
So,
I just want to mention again. I mentioned the title of Book 1, A Journey into Mystery. Book 2, A Contest of Champions. Book 3, Strange Adventures. And Book 4, Brave and the Bold, which I thought was cool. So before I think we're kind of maybe getting done with this, but a couple other bullet points I jotted down. Unless you got something else
I'm good.
This idea of a DC Marvel crossover, I'd read this before and I looked it up before. One of the things I did look up back in the late 70s, DC and Marvel agreed to do a crossover involving these two teams. And it was going to be Jerry Conway as a writer and George Perez even back then as the artist. That they was going to be a crossover with time travel. Kang the Conqueror was going to be the one bad guy from Marvel,
I've
and
heard of him.
DC's Lord of Time was going to be the other bad guy. Then Roy Thomas was going to actually script the plot that Jerry Conway did. Perez had even penciled 21 pages that I think is online somewhere now. And then it all went to hell in a handbasket. They just decided not to do it. And instead they did the Uncanny X-Men Teen Titans crossover in 82. Because, and really back then, those were the two hot properties.
Yeah.
For Marvel and DC. Kind of interesting how that's flipped in cycles and all that. So I just think it's cool that George Perez was attached to it way back then and then did it, this go around in the early 2000s. Last thing is nitpicks. Me just being... I know this isn't necessarily a book of its time, but had this been done more recently, I think you probably have a lot more Spider-Man in it somehow, because he is an Avenger by this point. There's no Daredevil in it. Daredevil's a huge thing now, I feel like, in Marvel, especially on, the Netflix and all that.
I didn't want to mention the fact that there was only like 2 shots of Spider-Man in it. And by the way, when this came out, Spider-Man was huge.
Sure.
Since Spider-Man came along in Marvel Comics has been huge.
But had not been an Avenger to this point.
Yes. Well, he'd been part of Avengers teams. I mean, he'd been in... Yeah, anyway. That's true.
I mean, not like he was with Bendis was on it later on after this.
No, I understand. No, but he had been a lot of times there's a kind of like the Justice League has adjunct team members, or I forget what they call them, reservists. He's a reserve Avenger. He's not an official Avenger. We call you in when everything goes to hell. We call you in. So, and I kind of like having Spider-Man not be an Avenger because again, he doesn't get written well on team books.
Well, and just like I don't like the fact that Wolverine's on every team. Yeah. In the Marvel comic book universe, in the 616 apparently. He's an X-Men, he's an Avenger, he's on the Fantastic Four sometimes.
Yeah. I will say the thing about Wolverine, though, is Wolverine is Wolverine is Wolverine is Wolverine.
Yeah.
Wolverine is the same guy, and he started on a team book, really. I mean, granted...
No, he absolutely did.
Yeah, granted he didn't. His first thing was fighting Hulk, but when he was really became Wolverine and people knew he was on a team, and so he's that same guy on every team. Whereas Spider-Man's a completely different guy on every team, depending on who's writing him. They do the best job with him when he's on the Fantastic Four, because he's been on the Fantastic Four before, and he does things with the Fantastic Four. But with the Avengers, not always as good. Although when he was on the Avengers with Bendis writes Spider-Man well, and not everybody does. I feel like there's this whole group that doesn't really like Spider-Man that writes comics, which is weird. But it's just or in my mind, they just don't get him as well. So. I don't know.
Well, just like there's people that don't get Superman, right? That
exactly
just do a terrible job of it. Yeah. The other nitpick I was going to point out is I always point out in these big books like this, they had Spectre, they had Phantom Stranger, but where's Dr. Fate? Where's Dr. Strange? And again, this is before...
I guess it was the Medusa mask. I swear I saw Dr. Fate's mask somewhere in this.
There was a little panel with him, and I swear I was looking for a little shot of him in one panel.
I saw that panel.
That was it, though. Yeah. Those are my other little things I just happened to jot down.
Speaking of Dr. Fate, Black Adam was not good.
Sure, we can tangent onto that.
Nope. I'm just throwing that out there right now. I did watch it. I wanted it to be good. I actually liked The Rock.
Yeah, then unfortunately, I know we're not going to spend a lot of time on this. I did a little bit of a deep dive on. He really thought this was going to be a franchise and had a lot of demands on DC and Warner Brothers. Like, he would not appear in other DC properties, extended universe, and wanted some control over writing or plot and all that. And no, it wasn't very long, I don't think, time-wise. It felt longer than the Batman to me, or the Eternals.
It wasn't very long because it felt like a long movie.
It was not a long. I promise you, it was not compared. It felt longer than the Eternals and longer than the Batman.
And I really felt like they wasted some good acting in it. The characters, the people playing in it were really good. it just did not work that well.
The supporting cast was, I mean,
Yeah,
and
they
even
were
the role
great.
playing, I mean, just the writing didn't seem very strong.
Yeah.
And look, all the Pierce Brosnan doing Dr. Fate was great.
I
The
thought
guy that played
exactly.
Hawkman was great.
Exactly.
Everybody, the guy that played the big tall Atom Smasher guy, whatever he's called him, that
I enjoyed him. Yes, the young lady.
Everybody
She was great. The mom of the kid. I've always liked her, even when she was on TV shows I liked.
and again, and then he insisted that Henry Cavill have a cameo, but he's the big bad or for Shazam, Captain Marvel over there. So why not that? Why wasn't anyways there? Yeah, it was unfortunate.
Yeah, he wants to fight Superman. Well, you fight Captain Marvel. Like Captain,
Yes.
you are Captain Marvel. I mean, I know he calls himself Captain Marvel, but you are Captain Marvel. Or I'm sorry, you are Shazam.
Black Adam.
Yeah. Black Adam was Shazam. That's the whole point of that character. He was the pre one. And if he says Shazam, he turns to dust. I mean, that's how they kill Black Adam because he went away and he's literally thousands of years old. So as long as he stays in the Black Adam form or the Shazam form, I just want to call it the Captain Marvel form, then he's the young, strong version. But when he goes Shazam, boom, he literally aged immediately and died. It was...
Anyways, yeah, that was... Oh, well, I'm still looking forward to see what James Gunn does with it all.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. I'm not going to lose any sleep over Cavill not being Superman anymore.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, he was fine. It just... yeah, we'll see. So I'm looking forward to a lot of stuff, but there's so much stuff I haven't even caught up on or even started. I haven't started Mandalorian. I haven't started Picard, so I'm behind already. I haven't finished History of the World Part 2.
I haven't started that.
A lot of good content out there, Charles.
There is.
I only got so much time in the day.
We have a website.
What?
It's called...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
JavandCharles.com. JAVANDTALK.com. And you can go there, and up at the top of that page, it says send Hav mail. And you can send us an email. And then I will read that email on the show. If you say, unless you say, please don't read this email on the show. I just want to tell you offline what is wrong with Hav. And then I will just tell Hav offline what was wrong with him, and we won't bring up your email. So if you wanna coach him that way, that's fine. I'd rather read it on the air, but whatever. If you have something bad to say about me, fold it 5 ways. No, feel free to.
I want everybody to know too, I'm not feigning excitement when Charles says, guess what, we got mail. I get genuinely excited. I've always liked getting mail. Even when I was a kid, like the old U.S. Postal Service mail, I remember thinking it was so cool that somebody sent me a piece of mail and it came from New York or, Mexico City or wherever, Des Moines. So, and I know it's different because it's electronic mail. That's what email stands for, Charles. Did you know that?
Did not know that.
So, look, it also means people are listening and taking the time to, even though my wife has said 2 of the emails here recently, but they're both pretty funny. Although I still think, as much as the burping thing was embarrassing, that equine thing still cracks me up when I think about it. I'd still laugh to myself. Equine therapy. Because I generally was, and she looked at me like, are you serious, buddy? Anyways, so yeah, send us mail. Hey, people listening that are friends of mine and have been friends of mine for years, I know you got some good stories of me being wrong. And I bet you, I dare you to think of one, remember one, and send them to Charles if you are listening. If you are in fact listening, so there, Gauntlet thrown, bring it. All right, so okay, that's enough of that. We do have the Twitter, even though Elon Musk is a weirdo. Yeah, we're still on the Twitter. I'm Havgonzo Tweets. At Havgonzo Tweets. Charles is at Herring Red Reel. And the handle for the website, the handle for the podcast is I always say this, J and spelled out, so JAND, Charles Talk Comic. So yeah, you can hit us up on the Twitter. That's what the new kids are using, Charles, is the Twitter.
I don't think that's true. I think the new kids are using the TikTok.
Well,
the TikTok.
China owns that, and they're communist, and that means they're bad. And that's all I have to say.
It's actually J and C Talk Comics.
That's what I said. No?
I thought you said Charles.
Oh, sorry, J and C Talk Comics. Sorry, that's the C. My bad.
That's okay. I may be wrong. I was only half listening, like usual when you talk.
Right. I know.
Oh, that's not true. That's true. That's not true. I was half listening, which is 25% more than I normally do when you're talking.
Oof.
Normally, I'm just thinking about what I'm going to say next. You would think
Oof.
what I said next would be better, but hey, I didn't say I thought well.
You're not a good thinker.
Huh?
Uh-huh. Exactly. So you suggested, if I may,
You may.
we read this thing. It was called, well, we read the volume. It was Spider-Man Deadpool Volume 1, Isn't It Bromantic? Which I think I heard there was an ongoing series with them too. And just so far out of my wheelhouse back in 2016 when it came out, didn't even think to pick it up, I guess. I don't know. I just didn't. So yeah, and I'll just start off by saying pretty good, pretty fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
That's why I suggested it. It's a fun comic, and you know how I feel about fun comics. And it's a fun comic with one of my favorite comic book characters and Deadpool in it. And Deadpool can be great.
And it was I'm kind of spoiled probably because of this, because now if I ever read them in anything else and it doesn't live up to their chemistry and repertoire, how do you say that? Their banter back and forth. Repartee. Thank you.
Yes.
The word escaped me. If it doesn't live up to this, what I read from writer, I have it right here, Joe Kelly, and artist Ed McGuinness. It was the artist. It was, yeah, you said it. It's fun. It was funny. And I got to learn a lot about these characters that I have not really read consistently over the years at all, and read sporadically, and for sure nothing this recent. So, I heard, we'd read other stuff where I knew Peter had the foundation, and he's a big to-do and rich and
had a, well, this is, we hadn't read any of the stuff where he actually had the company. We'd read some stuff because I hadn't suggested anything that was this far in the timeline.
Okay.
That was when he was working for Horizon, was what we read, what did we read?
The Spider
Island. When we read, he was working for
Which one was Horizon?
Horizon Labs. He was working for, it was a think tank. It was a think tank kind of a research and development company. And he was allowed to do massive research. This is after he comes back from being dead, and Dr. Ock, Sinister Spider-Man, not Sinister Spider-Man, anyway. Ooh, I'm getting tired. It's late on a Friday.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I just want everybody to know, late on a Friday, 8:25 p.m. Go ahead. Yeah, that's right. Shot fired across the bow.
Shot landed. That wasn't across the bow. You sunk my battleship.
Hey, real fast. I know did he ever work for the Freedom Foundation or the Fantastic Four Foundation or anything?
Peter interned at one point with Reed Richards.
Okay.
They've talked about that, and that's one of the reasons he was able to get the job with Horizon, or get the interview with Horizon, that Aunt May found him, because Aunt May got him the job, because Aunt May's awesome. So, but when he comes back to life, Dr. Ock started Parker Industries.
Huh.
So he's got this company, and so that's what's going on, and he's being a CEO, and he's developed this stuff, and he and Deadpool wants to be his buddy, but somebody puts out a hit on Peter Parker through Deadpool.
Yes, because he is a merc. He's a mercenary.
Yes,
he's a gun for hire.
Yes, but he wants to be best friends with Spider-Man. Because he
really does.
There's
so many.
Oh, well, best friends is one thing. Look, we all know Deadpool is definitely bisexual. It's fine.
He's got a man crush on him.
He has a massive man crush on Spider-Man. So
there's one panel where look, we're going to jump around, where they're going to have to dance for the ladies at the end. And Deadpool's wearing Spider-Man boxers.
Yes, he's down to nothing but his mask and a set of Spider-Man boxers, because they do the catch from Dirty Dancing.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my God, there's so much good stuff in this. And I thought of you, and you know what? I'm gonna steal your thunder.
Whoa! You thought of me when two men were dancing like that?
No.
Okay, it's okay.
I know. No, a different part of the comic book at the very beginning made me think of you, because there was a part where Spider-Man uses literally, and Deadpool gives him props for using it correctly, because it drives him crazy when people don't use it correctly, and I know that's your thing. So I just immediately, there's all sorts of good back and forth and references.
They banter so well. They do.
Yes.
Well, because they both. That's one of my favorite things about Spider-Man is the talkie talk. I've enjoyed it forever when he's written great. It's fun. The dialogue is great. The nervous energy, the nervous talking, the quips, all of that is just a lot of fun. And Deadpool is a lot the same way.
Well, and there's a reason why one of Deadpool's nicknames is the Merc with the Mouth.
That's right.
You know, because he's also sometimes at ports in this just borderline to just insane.
Oh yeah.
I know one of his things was breaking the fourth wall in his early stuff, and I was going to mention this. As I was reading it, I was not, of course, I was thinking of. I thought a little bit of Ryan Reynolds playing Deadpool. I thought of the different iterations of Spider-Man, and at no time did I start thinking of the movie or other versions of these guys. This is, and not in a bad way. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with any of what Ryan Reynolds is great as Deadpool on screen. Awesome. I just, for some reason, I remember thinking that when I was midway through this or even the way through it, I'm just reading this and I'm not thinking of the movies. I'm not thinking of Ryan Reynolds portraying him. I'm not hearing, when I'm reading the banter, I'm not hearing Ryan Reynolds' voice.
I am.
You are?
I am.
Okay, I was curious.
And I'm not because I'm really thinking that this is a similar to him. It's just now that is the voice I hear when I read when I read Deadpool, just because it's now Ryan Reynolds because he's done such a great job. I will say I don't hear any of the yahoos that have played Spider-Man when I read Spider-Man.
No.
Nope, not a single one is the voice of Spider-Man in my head. Not even Tom Holland, who I think is the better of the Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I actually, that's not fair because I really like the guy Garfield. I really like Garfield. Really
Andrew
like Garfield.
Not the orange cat.
No, I'm talking about the one-off comic they did with Garfield Spider-Man mashup. I loved that thing. It was all about.
Now I want to see that. God damn it. How great would that be? Garfield is Spider-Cat.
But voiced,
that would be awesome.
But voiced by Andrew Garfield.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
So
of course.
I don't read. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, sir.
No, I don't hear any of their voices when I read Spider-Man. I don't.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense. So yeah, So look, it was a great premise, and it's just also the fact that Deadpool has no clue that Peter Parker. I mean, they do the whole thing where Peter Parker's standing next to a guy dressed up as Spider-Man to throw Deadpool off.
Oh, yeah,
and they
the
do
Prowler.
all that.
It's the Prowler, because the Prowler works for now. Spider-Man works for Parker Industries,
right,
as bodyguard security type thing. So in order to be seen together, he uses the Prowler. Hobie Brown, or I think is in the 616 is the Prowler, and he dresses up as Spider-Man, so he's there with Peter. So yeah, he completely different. He clearly doesn't know that they're that. So long story short on this, Deadpool decides to kill him and kills Peter Parker.
Okay, so let's jump to that, because that's a few issues in.
Yeah, I know, but I mean,
he does twice.
Yes.
And the first time,
right.
he knocks on the door, and because Peter's back from whatever adventure, and where's the spider sense?
See, I think that bugged me, except I was playing around with it. Part of the reason the spider sense doesn't work is A, Deadpool's conflicted about it, and 2, Deadpool's insane.
Okay.
And it was too quick.
Okay, fair enough. That was maybe a nitpick,
because
he
doesn't make the decision until right before he does it. I think that's how they tweaked that. You're right. And hey, one of my huge problems with Spider-Man Homecoming is he didn't have Spidey sense, and then one of my main problems with Spider-Man Far From Home was they kept calling it the Peter tingle, which at least
that's just
which at least Peter thought that was fucking just stop calling it that.
That's creepy.
It's the only reason it's the only reason I'm glad they killed Aunt May.
Oh,
I'm still irritated that they killed Aunt May. I want to be perfectly clear. He already lost fucking Uncle Ben. He already lost Uncle Ben. They didn't need to fucking kill Aunt May.
And Tony Stark. But hey, like you always say, did you see a body? Oh wait, yeah, you did.
And fuck Tony Stark. I don't care about Tony Stark. They killed Aunt May. They left this poor kid out with literally nobody.
Bingo card. Okay, no, I know. Look, okay, so that's a little bit of a tangent, which is fine, of course. So look, if
The tangent
wasn't
police,
like
the tangent police, the tangent police. Oh, sorry.
I'm trying to say tangent at least 23 times this podcast, so we got a ways to go. I learned obviously context clues, a little bit about Spider-Man's status quo when this was coming out, and I already asked you a couple questions about that because the spider sense was still intact. It was still working at this point because it worked at other points in time in the comic, and that's why I asked a question about when Deadpool killed him.
That was a weird one. And the second time Deadpool killed him, see, the whole thing was he was killing him, and then he was going to be. He had a torture chamber ready because he is married to
someone from hell.
A queen of hell. I can't remember. I should have.
Demon goddess.
Yeah,
of some
it's a
type?
demon goddess of some type. She's great. She really is. It cracks
she's
me
great.
up.
And then he's got So the things I learned about Deadpool. There's that. Deadpool's got a daughter. That's very sweet, but a little bit dark.
Yes. And she loves Spider-Man.
And she loves Spider-Man because Deadpool has been telling her that Daddy and Spider-Man are buddies.
Because in his crazy ass messed up brain they are.
Well, and Spidey goes along with it because it's
a
big deal for Deadpool to bring him to introduce him to his daughter. So you learn about that. We also learn early on he's got a little bitty Nightcrawler in his pocket that can teleport him. And they really don't, which is fine. They don't explain it. It's just weird. And I'm kind of interested to learn more about that, I guess.
I thought that was given to him by his wife. I thought they said something about that.
They do reference that, but
yeah.
Does somebody just make little Nightcrawlers in hell?
Well, you do know that when Nightcrawler transfers between dimensions, he's really transferring you through hell.
I've heard that, and I also know that what's her face from the New Mutants, Ileana Rasputin.
Yeah,
it's Colossus's little sister Magic. She transports through hell or one of the hells.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. It's just weird. So that was just kind of funny because he's got this cute little Banff Nightcrawler.
Yes.
Little thing in his pocket. One of his many pouches from the 90s.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, look, what else? He's trying to impress Peter. Or not Peter, he's trying to impress Spider-Man.
Yes.
He's trying to kill Peter. Or trying to decide. And he's got an app that tells him, it's kind of like Two-Face and his coin. He's got an app that helps him decide whether he's going to be crazy or good. Or did you remember that part?
No, I don't. It's been a few weeks since I actually read it. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Look, it was really to the point. It was this good. I immediately, when I got done with it, earlier this week I immediately borrowed the next volume in sequence or two because it's a quick read. It's a fun read. If you like either of these characters, I'll take your word for it. You like the way Spider-Man is written in this.
Mostly, yes. I like the way he was written later too, more so as it goes on, because that's the Spider-Man I like is the, hey, I'm going to help you. And he started doing this because at first he was like, no, you're just bad. I can't have anything to do with you. You're bad. And then he's like, okay, I met your daughter. You're doing better things. We can get along. That's the Peter I like. There's good in everybody kind of Peter.
Yeah.
And he got there. So at first, so it's not about the way that it was written. It was just it took me a bit to get there for me to like what was going on. And it was going back to he kills him. He's waiting. He's supposed to be waiting. They're waiting. They have a special place in hell set up for Peter Parker, which is funny on so many levels because Peter Parker's not going to hell.
Well, Deadpool thinks he is because he's been set up because there's somebody that's torturing and experimenting on humans within the Parker Industries or whatever.
And he thinks it's Peter Parker. That's fine. But what I'm saying though is there's no world that the actual Peter Parker is going to hell when he dies. If there is a hell, that guy is not going there. I mean, his big mistake was not stopping someone who then killed his. I mean, his is. Some people have died around him, but not really through his fault. He might have been able to stop it, but the chain, he is just a good person. He tries to do good, and he succeeds most of the time. Hi, this is Charles breaking into the podcast for the first time to say there was a glitch in saving the audio. The last thing I said leading into this was the last bit of recording I have of Jav and I talking about the Spider-Man Deadpool arc. I don't know where it went, but it jumped right to the two of us giving our suggestions for the next podcast. So without a further ado, here's the end of the pod.
You ready?
Go for it. What do you got?
We're going to go DC, and we're going to go, because it's a classic that we haven't read, I feel like, and I don't know if you've read it. You probably have. Kingdom Come?
Oh, yeah, I've read it. Yeah, cool.
Okay, you have read it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay.
That's fine.
I'm pretty sure you had, but...
Let's do that. Okay.
I haven't read it in a long time. Like, I think I read it when it came out.
Okay.
So
We'll do that.
And I haven't even checked if it's. I'd be shocked if it's not on Hoopla. But you know what? Now that I say that, I'm going to check. But go ahead.
If it's not, it's definitely at the public library. It's
Right.
free, yo.
Or I do have the DC app
Well,
that I can share with you.
it
Not that I would share that with you. Sorry, I would never
Yeah.
share that with you. That's
no,
wrong.
that would be wrong. Kingdom Come.
Boom. It's there.
Batman.
It's on the Hoopla.
I am also doing DC.
Ooh.
Yeah. Batman and Robin.
Yeah, those are two characters. I've heard of them before.
I know. Batman and Robin, Batman Reborn. Batman and Robin, Volume 1, Batman Reborn. Issues 1 through 6 from 2011. It is after Batman is dead, Robin is Damian, Batman's son, and Dick Grayson is taking the mantle.
I've heard of this run. I've never read it, and I've always been interested in that's funny because I was about to suggest Batman Court of Owls.
Grant Morrison, Frank Quitely.
Hot damn.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I'm still. I have a couple others we're going to eventually. I'm going to go a little DC centric here, I think, for a little bit. So just FYI, because the next few on my list are DC, I think.
Okay. I guess I'll try to find something else for the next one than what I was going to do, because that can wait.
No, it's okay.
No, that can wait.
We can do.
No. I don't.
I can go high voice too.
All right. Sorry.
No. Well, I may. You know what? I say that. And
you
then
can
I
do whatever
switch.
you want. No, I don't know. I have another Kurt Busiek that I'm thinking about doing, but again, I'm not doing these in any particular order. It was just on my saved list here. So, because I actually only have 2 comics there, but I've got some other things. I told you I was going to spend some time and make a list, and I did come up with a few ideas, but I never wrote them down. So I've only got a couple because I was like, oh yeah, we do this.
I use the notes on my iPhone. That's probably makes me an old man. I actually do use that thing to put notes in for different things.
That doesn't make you an old man. That makes you smart. I literally would write them down, but I did not write them down. That's what I'm saying. I forgot what they were because I thought about it and I was like, yeah, I'll remember that. Yeah, I know I won't remember that because I mean, come on.
Gotcha. Well, and hey, going back to the email thing on the website, if anybody has a suggestion of like, hey, these bozos have not read this or why haven't they read this, send us an email. And guess what? I'll probably just take it and run with it. If you send me an email and you suggest something, unless it's something weird that's like, I don't know why. I mean, if it's something DC or Marvel or Image, or send a suggestion. But yeah, I'm just going to throw that out there too here at the end. But
once
hey, Charles,
again,
thanks.
Hold
go ahead.
on. Based on what you said there about sending an email with a suggestion, once again, I would like to apologize for y'all finding out what. Never mind. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. No, I got you.
Yes, thank you very much for listening. It's been fun getting back to doing this. Hopefully we will be on a more regular schedule than we were last year, that we kept missing dates. And if we don't, we do.
We got 15 episodes in, and you're already confusing the crap out of me because we started out this season with a special episode that doesn't count as an episode, but it does. And season 3, this is season 3, episode 1, but we've already recorded a podcast before this. So just so you know, you're making it's throwing off my numbering on my notes because I keep notes from every episode. So there's that. But no, thank you, Charles, for doing the podcast with me and the heavy lifting of the editing and the producing and all that. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.